you guys, you can have a relaxing video tonight, even though I'm not quite sure. What we'll do first. Thinking of just having a chit-chat video. I haven't sat down with you guys and done just a chit-chat video in a long, long while. I have a leftover Reader's Digest I'd like to do. And my collection of pencils, pen, marker. You know what I think I'd really like to do? Read some true crime stories. Twisted murderers, incredible survivors, unexplained mysteries. My Amazon purchase from a while back. A year of true crime. To feed your morbid curiosity and true crime obsession. With a year of enthralling tales of murder, mayhem, and deception, learn about the killer who was caught because a tattoo depicted his crime in detail, the mysterious disappearances in the Bennington Triangle, and the real story behind the timeless headline, Headless Body in a Topless Bar, the murderer who made a deathbed confession only to start feeling better, plus quizzes and trivia to test your true crime chops, unidentified murder victims, inspiring survivor stories, and quotes from the killers themselves. I was going to say, you can lay your head back and relax, but true crime stories is a little hard to relax, but they're still fun. I think it's fun to be a little bit scared sometimes. Let's see. I've kind of done a lot of these, I guess. The hipster grifter. Dubbed the hipster grifter, Carrie Ensor, alias Carrie Farrell, made headlines in 2009 when she scammed her way through Brooklyn and into a job at Vice Media. Armed with lies that she had music industry experience and aided by an I Love Beards tattoo on her back, Ensor used sexually explicit messages such as "I want you to throw a hot dog down my hall" to attract men, including some of her co-workers. She then claimed to have cancer to elicit their sympathy. Ensor stole money from some and conned most into paying her rent and living expenses. These crimes seemed small until a co-worker Googled her and learned that she was the Salt Lake City Police Department's most wanted fugitive for forgery, retail theft, and $60,000 in bad checks. Ensor was caught and extradited to Utah, where she served 6 months for her crimes. Despite this, Ensor was still up to her old tricks as recently as 2016, when she was caught posing as a reporter from Refinery 29 to gain access to New York Fashion Week. Next up, art forensics. Art forensics, not to be confused with forensic arts, is the detection of forgeries, deception, and stolen property through the scientific analysis of artwork. An estimated 20% of artwork produced and sold is forged. So art forensics is essential to collecting and selling. The main method of detecting lies in analyzing materials such as paint, sculpting media, canvases, chemical compounds, and stray fabrics or fibers, often with the aid of powerful microscopes. The artist whose work is most frequently forged is Pablo Picasso. Salvador Dali's art is the second most forged, aided by Dali's habit of signing blank canvases that were later painted by other artists. Dali often shared in the profits of the forgeries of his own art. Let's see who said this quote. For a lawyer, to do less than his utmost is, I strongly feel, a betrayal of his client. Though in criminal trials, one tends to focus on the defense attorney and his client, the accused, the prosecutor, is also a lawyer, and he too has a client, the people, and the people are equally entitled to their day in court, to a fair and impartial trial, and to justice. And that was a quote by Vincent Bugliosi, Helter Skelter, the true story of the Manson murders. Next up, oh, how many parts does this have? The North Pond Hermit. In 1986, 20-year-old Christopher Thomas Knight disappeared into the wilderness of the North Pond area of Maine, except for two brief encounters. A simple hi to a passing hiker, and when an angler fisherman and his son stumbled on his camp and were sworn to secrecy, he would not be seen or heard from again for years. Knight survived all those bitter Maine winters by waking up during the coldest time of night, so it's minus 25 degrees Fahrenheit, and pacing until it was warm again. He avoided building fires and instead cooking with propane tanks stolen from nearby campsites. He stockpiled supplies. He also stole from local camps and residences and stayed inside his camp between November and March so he could not be tracked by footprints left in the snow. Knight was arrested April 4th, 2013, 27 years after he vanished, while burglaring a camp in Rome, Maine. Locals were relieved to finally learn where their mysteriously disappearing items had gone. Some cabins had been broken into up to 50 times, with stolen items varying from batteries to flashlights to steaks from the fridge. Knight received 7 months in jail and was ordered to pay $2,000 restitution to the victims of his burglaries. 27 years he did that. That's a hermit's life, all right. The Felony ice cream liquor. In 2019, a customer at Corpus Christi, Texas Walmart removed a tub of ice cream from the freezer. He opened it, licked the top, put it back. Fortunately for her, a video of the prank went viral and received more than 11 million views on Twitter. Police went on a manhunt for the ice cream liquor. Authorities refused to rest till she was detained, claiming that she would face charges of second-degree felony tampering with a customer product, which carries a sentence of 2 to 20 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000. The suspect, who turned out to be a minor, was quickly caught. Police declined to charge her as an adult, and her fate was left up to the juvenile court. The tub of ice cream was quickly identified and removed from the freezer. I don't know if that's really a true crime as we would categorize a true crime. Here's another quote. Who's this quote from? As long as you live, there's always something waiting. And even if it's bad, and you know it's bad, what can you do? You can't stop living. Truman Capote. Okay. The San Francisco witch killers. The murder of Karen Barnes. In 1977, James Clifford Carson began behaving so erratically that his wife fled with their daughter, eventually breaking off all contact with both Carson and their mutual acquaintances. Carson soon became involved with divorcee Susan Barnes, and the two changed their names to Michael Bear Carson and Susan Bear Carson, claiming that the names were given to them by God. Together, they moved to Haight-Ashbury neighborhood in San Francisco and soon became involved in drugs and mysticism, and it was here that their behavior turned deadly. The Carsons' killing spree began in March of 1981 when they claimed their roommate Karen Barnes, no relation to Susan, falsely converted to their religion and drained Susan of her health and yogi powers. They stabbed Barnes 13 times, bludgeoned her, wrapped her in a blanket, and hid her body in the basement of the house that they shared in San Francisco. This was only the beginning. Next is the murder of Clark Stevens. After they murdered Karen Barnes, the Carsons fled to the mountains near Grant Pass, Oregon, before returning to California in the spring of '82 to work on a marijuana farm in Alder Point. In May, Michael shot and killed Clark Stevens, who also worked on the farm. The two had argued that after the Carsons accused Stevens of sexually assaulting Susan, Michael attempted to burn Stevens' body and buried him in the woods. The Carsons were suspected in the murder, but They had already fled, and the police were unable to track them down. They left behind a manifesto calling for the assassination of then-President Ronald Reagan, and Michael was picked up by police in Los Angeles in November of that year, but was quickly released because of police error, and the pair vanished again. And then next, more San Francisco witch killer story. The murder of John Charles Hellier. In January, the following year of 1983, the Carsons were picked up by John Charles Hellier while hitchhiking near Bakersfield, California. Susan soon decided that Hellier was a witch, and a fight broke out as Hellier was driving. He pulled over, and the fight continued outside the vehicle. Susan stabbed Hellier as he and Michael wrestled for a gun. Once Michael had the gun, he shot Hellier in plain view of passing motorists, one of whom alerted the police. The Carsons attempted to flee in Hellier's car, but were apprehended by police after a brief high-speed chase. And then next, the fourth killing, the press conference. Well, maybe it's not a killing, maybe it's just the get-together. The Carsons held a 5-hour press conference and smiled for the cameras as they confessed to the brutal slayings of Karen Barnes, Clark Stevens, and John Charles Hellier. They claimed to be pacifists despite the murders. Vegetarian yoga, Muslim warriors who were on a crusade to exterminate witches is all they were. They were disgusted with the American way of life and proclaimed that witchcraft, homosexuality, and abortion are causes for death, adding that they had no choice but to kill. They kept a hit list of political figures and celebrities and remain suspects in a dozen other murders that occurred during the time of their spree. The couple was sentenced to 25 to 50 years to life and 75 years to life for the murders of Barnes, Stevens, and Hellier, respectively. As of 2017, neither had expressed any remorse for their crimes. And this is Michael Bear Carson. This is his quote upon canceling his parole hearing in June of 2015. He says, "I know this is absurd. No one is going to parole me because I will not and have not renounced my beliefs." So he just canceled it. Oh, here's some Netflix chilling documentaries. Oh, we should check these out on Netflix. Partners in Crime, an exploration of strange murder cases in Hong Kong. A Killer in the Family. A criminal psychologist highlights and analyzes early warning signs of domestic crimes. Cold Justice, a team led by former prosecutor Kelly Siegler investigates cold cases in this series produced by Dick Wolf. And The Investigator, a British crime story. A woman missing and presumed dead, a focused investigator, and a disastrous conclusion. So those are on Netflix. Be fun to check that out. Okay, unidentified murdered victim. Woodland Jane Doe, female, white, age 15 to 30 years old, hair color, brown or black, clothing, white and tan shirt, tan pants, striped knee socks, and a rawhide necklace with turquoise bead. Woodland, Jane Doe was found wrapped in a white sheet on September 12th, 1976 in Woodland, Maryland. Her face was covered with 2 bandanas, one blue and one orange and white, with a hole cut to fit the location of her eyes and mouth. A grass seed bag was also found over her face and another in her throat, which was determined to be the cause of death, along with strangulation. Chlorpromazine, a drug used to treat schizophrenia, was found in her system, and the sheet wrapped around her body was consistent with the kind used in inpatient institutions, linking her or her killer to a mental institution. In 2016, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children revealed that authorities found a potential identity for the victim. She may have gone by Jasmine or Jazzy, but no next of kin could be located, so the trial went stone cold. Oh my goodness. Okay. Headless body in a topless bar. Called the most anatomically evocative headline in the history of American journalism by the New York Times, Headless Body in a Topless Bar, written by Vincent Musetto, graced the front page of the New York Post on April 15, 1983. The story, after arguing with Herbie's bar owner Herbert Cummings, patron Charles Dingle shot Cummings on April 13th. Dingle then took several women hostage, raping one, who was a topless dancer, and forcing another, who was a mortician, to decapitate Cummings. He was apprehended the following day and sentenced to 25 years to life. He died in prison in 2012 after being denied parole several times. Musetto's headline stuck in the cultural consciousness, appearing on T-shirts and used as the title of both the 1995 movie that was loosely based on the crime and a 2007 book about the New York Post best headlines ever written. Oh my goodness. I guess. Now, what is this? Coulrophobia. Coulrophobia is the fear of clowns, a fear that has been perpetrated over the years by well-known true crime clowns. John Wayne Gacy, the serial killer who targeted young boys, is called the killer clown because he was known to dress up as a clown named Pogo or Patches at charitable events, parades, and children's parties. Sheila Keene Warren, accused of dressing as a clown, delivering gifts to the home of Marlene Warren, then shooting Marlene in the face. Keene Warren went on to marry her husband in 2002. The case remained unsolved for 27 years after the 1990 shooting until Keen Warren was arrested 2017. The 2016 clown sightings. A rash of menacing clown sightings occurred worldwide in 2016. Incidents included violent threats, attempts to lure children, robberies, and assaults on adults and children, but few arrests were made. I think I remember that. I don't remember what year it was, but it did seem like all of a sudden one year a lot of spooky clown sightings were everywhere. The snatching of Dirk the Penguin. On April 15, 2012, Welshmen Rise Owen Jones and Carrie Mules woke up with a peculiar house guest in their Queensland, Australia apartment. It was a 7-year-old fairy penguin named Dirk from a nearby SeaWorld on Queensland's Gold Coast. The two men had drunkenly broken into the SeaWorld the night before, swimming with the dolphins and setting off a fire extinguisher in a shark enclosure before making off with Dirk the penguin. They briefly tried to care for Dirk at their home by feeding him and putting him in the shower before releasing him into a canal where they were spotted by locals, and the locals called the police. The men were apprehended. They were chastised for their dangerous and irresponsible intoxicated hijinks and fined $1,000 Australian dollars each. Dirk was rescued and safely returned to SeaWorld, where he was reunited with his partner Peaches. Now why? Why was that a true crime? It's weird. Forensic facts, the Henry classification system. Before computerization, there were 3 systems for classifying fingerprints. The Rorschach system, the Versatex system, and the Henry classification system. The latter divides fingerprints into 3 basic patterns. Loops. This category makes up 60% of all fingerprints. Subgroups are radial loops, which point toward the thumb, and ulnar loops, which point toward the pinky. Whorls. 35% of fingerprints. There are 4 subgroups: plain whorl, central pocket loop, and a double loop, an accidental loop, and then, last but not least, arches. 5% of fingerprints subgroups are plain arches and tinted arches. I'll have